Just like Flight 828 itself, the fan-favorite series Manifest has found a place for its 4th season to land just after it looked like the show would disappear forever with no answers. This miracle has led fans to their latest calling, rewatching every single episode. Unfortunately, while you can miss things watching week to week, binge watching makes plot holes so much more noticeable. So before Netflix reveals whether the survivors of 828 will survive in the end, check out all the inconsistencies that have appeared along the way. The problem with creating a puzzle box show is that your fans have to pay extra close attention in order to figure out some of the twists or come up with their own fan theories. Seriously, fans of The X-Files, Lost, or Twin Peaks can easily obliterate an hour laying out all the things they noticed no one else did. Well, Manifest fans are no different. In the last season finale, there was a big mistake that they just tried to throw past us. The show claimed that there were several missing seats on Flight 828. Well, this directly contradicts statements made earlier in the series about how the flight was packed. In a show this wild, though, the idea that an airline made a clerical error about how booked their flight was would be the least surprising twist the series has ever pulled off. The main character of Manifest is your typical primetime TV man of action, Ben Stone. This normal guy turned hero has had a ton of wild twists and turns in his life since 828 landed. The one that seemed to hurt him the most was when he found out that his wife Grace had moved on with another man, Danny. While the show could have easily made Danny a villain, instead he seemed like a pretty great guy. Even Olive had grown close to him to the point of considering him a father figure. And then, when the poor guy got tossed to the curb, everyone, including Olive, just kind of forgot he existed. Even after Olive made such a big deal about it, you just know that while everyone else is solving mysteries, Danny is sitting alone in his apartment, reading about all those rock climbing expeditions he was going to take with Olive. He deserves better. Shows like Manifest are all about throwing twists at you like every other episode to keep you hooked. Most of them, like Ben discovering that all of them have an expiration date, are pretty awesome. Then there was the one that revealed that Jared was going undercover to infiltrate the Xers episodes after they tried to convince us that he was joining them. I mean, not only did I fall for this for a second, but it seemed really out there that Jared would pull this off. You would think that this super paranoid group of people would figure out that Jared was involved with Michaela, one of the survivors that they hate so much. I mean, the two of them were basically engaged, and you want to tell me there weren't any pics of her on his Facebook page? Come on. I feel like that's the first thing they would do. If there's one type of twist that I hate, it's the fake out slaying of a character that then turns out to, surprise, not be real. Nick Fury in Captain America the Winter Soldier, Jim Gordon in The Dark Knight, and Han in F9. While Manifest is all about resurrections like this, there was one that made absolutely no sense. When Vance seemingly was obliterated in an explosion in episode 9 of the first season, it seemed like a huge deal. Then he showed up in the second season and it was like, what? How did he plan that? You mean the NSA didn't bother to actually confirm that he was gone? This is one of those twists. They just try to rush past you so you don't think about it because the logistics are utter nonsense. I mean, it's not as bad as J.J. Abrams trying to convince us Chewbacca got blown up for 5 whole minutes, but it's pretty close. Okay, so the main reason that I'm happy Netflix saved Manifest is because the last season finale threw a twist at us so wild that I would never forgive NBC if I'd never found out what's going on. I mean, I still haven't forgiven Fox for Firefly, so this wouldn't be a stretch. That twist is, of course, the fact that Cal miraculously grew up off screen. This is cool, but it kind of throws a wrench into the internet logic of the show thus far. We've mostly seen characters come back to life and experience callings, only to then lose their lives once their given time has expired. These are rules the show has built slowly over the course of 3 seasons. Cal growing up quickly doesn't fit in with anything we've seen so far. The show is gonna have a lot of explaining to do once it comes back on the streaming service. Manifest cleverly uses different religions to make up their mythology. This keeps the show from becoming about any one religion. The only problem is that these religions all have contradictory moral beliefs. The characters in Manifest are all supposed to be judged once they've lived as long as they were missing. It's been shown that resurrected people can be punished by an unseen force or lose their calling. It's unclear what specific set of moral rules that they're being judged by. I mean, we've seen characters lie, cheat, and break laws constantly. With so much on the line, it's kinda strange that none of the characters are worried about common religious practices across human history like dietary restrictions or specific rituals demanded of followers. They pretty much just stick to the callings themselves without any worry that they're making passive choices that could doom them all. When Manifest opens, we see a plane full of people arrive 5 years after they were supposed to land. They deal with problems like partners that have moved on and a world that no longer trusts them. Those would only be the start of their problems, though. For one, 5 years worth of technological changes in this time in history would be wild. I mean, none of them would even know what TikTok was. Not only that, but while they deal with the NSA, the real agency they should be worried about is the Internal Revenue Service. I think it would be much scarier if the Major worked for the IRS and then tried to discover how all these people skipped out on taxes for 5 years. Imagine a whole season of that. Like most primetime TV shows, the main characters are constantly getting in trouble with the police. Seriously, there's hardly any drama on ABC or NBC that doesn't feature constant police drama. These shows literally never portray any of this realistically, but Manifest is noticeably bad. For instance, when the criminal bad guy squad that plagues a good portion of the series escapes by offing a few cops, there's no, giant manhunt for them or anything. The show just brings in and then immediately drops police matters throughout the series with no real thought. You just know there's someone at that precinct Michaela and Jared work at who is, stuck with all the paperwork and is just confused about what's going on this week. You know how Ben is absolutely obsessed with the calling and will go to extreme lengths to put all the clues together and figure out what's happening? Well, apparently Manifest fans are 1,000% worse. In the Heist during season 1, there's a scene where the robber runs out with $75 million in 2 duffel bags. Well, evidently, the weight of that much money would have been way more than 2 duffel bags can handle. You would think that they would have done their research. Would it really have been so hard to rob one bank? I'm sure if they said they were doing it for something as noble as a TV show, the bank would have dropped the charges. The first episode does throw quite a lot at you. It just propels you into this crazy scenario where these passengers arrive years after they were supposed to. So most people were not focusing on the tiny details. That being said, it has been pointed out that they tried to sneak something by us. The 737 that was shown during the flying sequences was a different model than the one on the ground. Sure, this was probably just a production mistake that they thought we wouldn't catch, but it could be a clue. Perhaps the plane itself changed during that dark lightning storm? If only they hadn't have blown it up, we could finally get some answers. Here's to hoping when Netflix picks up the series for a final season that there are plenty of satisfying answers waiting for us. Please don't be a Lost. Please don't be a Lost. Please don't be a Lost.